Talmor, Shishin Magachi. Talmor is my home. My family have worked the land for generations. My gran says the island does not belong to us, but we belong to the island. And we must be ready, for a great evil is coming, and death follows with it.
Listen and subscribe to the latest season of Undertow, The Harrowing, a Storyglass production presented by Realm, available wherever you get your podcasts.
The thing that I fought tooth and nail to bring my son into is Dungeons and Dragons. That is the ultimate solution to parenthood.
I'm Alexis Ohanian. In my podcast, Business Dad, I'm hoping to open up the conversation about balancing careers and family. I talked to Rainn Wilson. I wanted to learn more about Rainn's advice to play D&D with your kids. Business Dad is available now, so be sure to listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
In 2005, two brothers hit the road to chase demons and fight monsters.
Fighting a couple of angels, too.
And eventually save the world.
A bunch of times. Over 15 years, this series has built one of the most dedicated fan bases in all of entertainment, and that fan base is near and dear to our hearts.
That's right. I'm Rob Benedict. I played Chuck Shirley, a.k.a. God.
And you do a darn good job, too, buddy.
Aw, thanks.
Well, I'm Richard Spade Jr. I played Loki, the Trickster, and Gabriel, and I directed a bunch of episodes.
Wow, is that it?
Well, I directed you. I don't know. What do you think?
Though we worked on the show for years, we never sat down and watched the entire series.
But that was then, and this is now.
That's right. We are watching each episode and inviting the actors, the writers, producers, and crew to join us in digging into the story, the characters, and the mythology.
These guests share some fantastic behind-the-scenes stories with us. You're going to love those, and you're going to get our honest opinion about each and every episode. That's right. Those guests share some fantastic behind-the-scenes stories with us, and each episode gets a full, honest, and unfettered review from Rob and Rich. And you get to learn a little bit about how TV is made. Lord knows we have.
A warning, there are spoilers. And don't get frustrated that we haven't caught details for multiple viewings or that we know what happens 3 seasons from now. This is the first time we're watching these episodes. And you're there for the ride as we watch with our virgin eyes.
Oh, that's creepy. Thanks for joining us on our journey as we deepen our understanding about why you love this series so much.
Hey everybody, this is Rob Benedict.
And I go by the moniker Richard Spade Jr.
And we're talking about Season 5, Episode 13, The Song Remains the Same.
Which is weird because the song doesn't remain the same. That would indicate that this episode we've seen before and we haven't. You know what I mean?
True.
It's a new episode.
That's a really good point. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hey, before we get any further, did you know you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple?
Of course I do. I'm a part of the podcast team.
Right. But I'm talking to the people listening, not you. Well, for just $3.99 a month, you can get early access to episodes, ad-free content, and bonus material. Find the show on Apple Podcasts to start a free trial. Okay, guys, we have such a treat for you.
This is the kind of treat that when you're tuning into a Rob and Rich podcast and you're thinking to yourself, I wish they would bring in a treat.
Yeah.
You're not even imagining this level of treat. You're picturing something way crappier than the treat we have.
We've got a guest reviewer with us. The one and only Todd Stashwick.
What?
Yes. Hello,
even you're
Todd.
surprised.
I'm shocked. So
you know him from so many shows, but Supernatural audiences will know him best, of course, from Monster Movie. Such a great actor and a good person. Hello, Todd.
Hi. So I know you guys rate things at 0, and this may be an audio podcast. You guys rate things with beards, so I took mine off so that we're tabula rasa.
Ah, yes.
So you're starting with a clean slate? Is that your sort of idea?
Exactly. So that I'm no prejudgments. We'll know by the end, and maybe mine will grow in by that time.
Yeah, and you'll be the champion leveler. You know, and don't be thrown off by Rob's look. This is new for him too. Rob's going with the mustache.
Yeah.
He's rocking the solo stash, which is not usually his thing.
It's very David Hornsby.
That is an analogy that no one has thrown out yet that I love.
It's a deep cut, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very deep cut.
You guys,
that's just the way it is
You have
when you're
a
making
Hornsby
deep cuts.
whiff. You and Hornsby could go around the tree.
Yeah. I love Hornsby.
He's one of the best. One of the best.
Yeah. I did a guest star with him years ago.
He's a lovely, lovely human.
He is.
But here we are. Enough about David Hornsby.
Let's quit hitting on David Hornsby and actually focus on why we're here.
Are you the kind of guy that could grow beards quick?
Pretty quick.
Yeah.
Pretty quick. Yeah.
That's nice.
Like this will be something to reckon with by the weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And by the way, for people who don't know, it's midweek right now. It's not like, you don't have a full 7 days to make something impressive.
Right. I don't. This will be something to reckon with come mid-September.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and
Thanks.
we're gonna get into this. And listen, Todd, I don't want any BS, dude. I want honest thoughts as we plot
Full
through this
critique.
episode.
Full critique.
Yeah, Jared and Jensen can't hire us now, so we can be honest. You know what I mean?
Well, right. Jensen just got a job.
They can hire us in other things, but not this show. So
he just got a job, right?
He did, yeah.
On second thought, let's be sure we give this a good review.
Well, they didn't write it or direct it.
Oh, no.
They just showed up and were handsome.
They just
I mean, they're more than handsome. They're very talented, but you know what I'm saying.
Hey, if talent is if being hot is a talent, then they're very talented. All right,
here we go.
Let's do it. Let's dive in. Robert, you start.
So I think I'm uniquely qualified to be involved in this week's review.
Oh, how so?
Why is that?
I know a thing or two about time travel because of the 12 Monkeys. And I was alive in 1978. Somewhere in the world, young Todd Stashwick was playing Dungeons and Dragons in the course of this episode.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And it looked very Midwest. What town was that in?
Oh, shoot.
I mean,
what was
it's
it
Toronto. I mean, it's Vancouver.
Right.
But where was it set?
Yeah.
Would it be Kansas? Yeah, it's in Kansas.
No, it's the Midwest. So somewhere in the Midwest.
Yeah.
I was rolling dice.
Yeah. Same, by the way. Not necessarily D&D, but rolling dice for some game. Maybe Sorry.
I was there
or
doing
Trouble
something.
with the bubble.
Yeah.
You pop that
Trouble.
bubble.
It was a pop-o-matic.
It was a pop-o-matic.
That's what they called that thing, the pop-o-matic.
Trademarked.
Well, here we go. The angel Anna, Julie McNiven, appears to Dean while he's having a provocative dream.
How great is it to see Julie McNiven again in the show?
Lovely. She's so good and so great as this character.
She and I were in Hawaii together doing an episode of Hawaii 5-0.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Was that recent?
I think I was there when she had her first Mai Tai.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was a lovely moment.
Awesome. Was her husband Michael with her, or was she solo?
No, me, Cynthia Watros, and Julie were enjoying tropical beverages in Oahu.
How fun.
And I love that Julie McNiven.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Great.
And we're back. I'm like pop-up video. I like pop-up with little industry.
This is what, yes, absolutely.
This is what this is. She tells him she has escaped Heaven's prison and wants to meet with the brothers. Sam and Dean consult with Castiel, who doubts her intentions and meets with her instead. Anna tells Castiel she wants to prevent the apocalypse by killing the devil's vessel, Sam. She can't locate Sam because of the sigil on his chest. To destroy him, she's going to travel back to 1978 to kill Sam and Dean's parents, Mary and John Winchester.
I love that traveling back to my childhood seems like ancient times in the course of the show. Like,
I know.
1978.
What?
Yeah. I love the shot of her landing on the, whatever that is, the Trans Am or whatever it is with the
and the bloody
wings.
nose. I've also been a Terminator.
You've been a Terminator?
Sent back in time to kill somebody on Sarah
This is why we asked you.
I am so perfect for this. This is going to be so good.
See, Rob, you're wrong. He's perfect for this. Wait, when were you a Terminator?
I want to go back in time and stop that conversation that you had.
I want to go back in time and kick Richard in the teeth.
Why couldn't you do that in current day?
Nope.
No, I got to do it back in time.
No, now that he's told you
I
about
can
it.
only.
Yeah, I'll see it coming. Wait, when were you a Terminator?
Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Oh,
Love
dude. Your library of work. Good Lord.
I'm
Can't
old.
keep up with it.
I'm old.
All right.
All right. Castiel, Sam, and Dean follow.
Oh, by the way, I learned to drive in a Trans Am, just for the people at home.
Oh, look at
My
that fun
cousin,
fact.
Brooke Smith, had a beat-up yellow Trans Am that didn't have much of a floor. He taught me to drive in it in Alpharetta or Tucker, Georgia, and he called that car, because it was so torn up and so yellow, he called it the Fire Chicken. So I
love
learned
it.
to drive in the Fire
This is
Chicken.
the bird on the hood, which brings us back to 1977, which is Smokey and the Bandit.
Yes.
And that beautiful thing.
Yes, sir.
And my first car in the early 80s was a 76 Firebird, which was the Pontiac version of
Wow.
Trans Am.
Amazing. Castiel, Sam, and Dean follow Anna back to 1978. However, Castiel is severely weakened by the process of time travel.
Which is weird because the guys aren't. That did.
Well, it's just
strike
something
me.
angels, for some reason, it's hard on angels.
The guys aren't using powers to get themselves there.
Oh, you think the power exhausted him?
The angel's the one who's got the gas in the tank to transport whoever they transport. And the fact that Cass had to do it for 2 people, can you imagine how much gas he was using, how much angel gas?
Right. Because Anna's weakened as well.
Yeah, but she didn't even transport anybody else. So she was up on her feet a little earlier.
Right.
Okay. All right, that tracks. I'll buy it.
So the boys get him set up at a motel to rest, and they head out to find Anna. The boys locate John and Mary. While Sam and Dean try to convince Mary of what's going on, she wants nothing to do with them.
I do like the scene at the door with Amy Gumenick opening that door and being like, zip it.
And by the way, Jared looking at his dad for the first time, was beautiful.
Beautiful.
Maybe one of the best moments as Sam that I've seen.
Such a layered thing. And this is like season 5. Such a layered, beautiful, charged moment that he put.
It really is. I wonder how much was scripted, how much was Jared doing that. But
you see the line, and he's stunned at seeing his dad for the first time, and then everything else is the actor. Right
the actor, yeah, for sure.
It's really impressive.
I don't know why I said doctor, because of like Doc Brown. I don't know.
Everything, I don't know, Ben, but Jared's brother's a doctor. Maybe that's what it was.
That's what it was.
Well, meanwhile, John is lured away by Anna. She's disguised her voice as a garage worker and has a job for him in the middle of the night, but whatever. He goes to the interview.
Hey, man needs a job.
She tricks him into meeting this potential employer. And once John arrives at the auto garage, he's viciously attacked by Anna. Mary and the boys arrive. Mary fights off Anna, giving Sam time to make a banishing vigil.
Yeah.
Why didn't she just break his neck?
Oh, yeah. Why do the whole,
why throw
ballet
across
of a fight?
Room? And why, I understand you got a story you got to tell, and you got to keep people on screen to tell it.
Right.
But she's certainly quickly dispatched with his boss.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
I know what you mean, and I think you've answered your own question.
Yeah.
But I also think the other thing is she's conflicted.
She is conflicted. And she plays that really well.
She's a little she likes these guys.
Yeah, she's like, I'm sorry. She keeps apologizing.
Yes.
I know, but I don't see. I thought one of the things I think that Julie did really well is she's so good at that role, and I think there's a callousness that she brings to that role.
She can go cold when she's got to go cold, but I'm trying to justify why she doesn't just break necks. And she is
it because Sam shows up and she's sort of like.
Yeah, because I feel like the breaking of the neck is actually kinder than beating the living shit out of somebody until they die.
Yeah, and if this is here to sort of clean house and stop them from being born, why is she playing with her food?
I don't know.
You're saying at the very beginning when she first sees John, why
she just snap his neck? The end, and then she can pop back to heaven.
Right. I'll take this one step forward. Right, finger snap, boom, vasectomy.
Wow, the old vasectomy.
Done.
Roll credits.
Yeah, then actually, no harm, no foul. The boy gets to live. Yeah. I mean, the man gets to live.
Well, lucky for us, we get to see this awesome fight.
I can almost hear Rob rolling his eyes. Ridiculous.
No, it's lucky for the viewer. We get to see this great fight.
Yes. Yeah,
we get to see Mary twirling the knife around.
That was cool.
And lots of people kicking other people away. I also like that Julie as Anna, she doesn't push them. She just places her hand on their chest.
She force pushes them.
Yeah. She totally force pushes him. Okay, so on the way to the Campbell family shelter, John is mortified to learn that his wife and her, quote, distant cousins fight monsters.
Yeah, very thrown off by that whole idea that they even exist, which is fun to see John Winchester, upon whom the entire series is based, before he was a convert.
It's an origin story.
Yeah, totally. As they prepare to defend themselves, Mary learns from Dean the true identities of the brothers. They are her children. Meanwhile, Sam
Which has got to throw you if you put yourself in her shoes.
That's a lot. That's a lot to take in. Yeah.
Although, you just fought an angel.
Right.
Well, I guess you go.
In the world of worlds, if I can fight angels and demons, time travel is certainly not out of the question.
You're telling me there's monsters?
No, but you're learning all this in a span of about 2 hours. It's going to,
She's got to accept truths pretty quickly if she's in the monster hunting business.
Yeah, that's true. Good point, Todd.
Meanwhile, Sam tells John that their father raised them to be hunters. John is shocked that anyone would expose their children to this life. I love that John, but he's game. He's game. He's like, there's monsters? All right, give me the knife. He cuts his hand. And
he's right in it. That was another great scene with Jensen. Like you reminded me. That was that was great.
Yeah. Totally. Mary tells the brothers that she can't leave John to prevent Sam and Dean from being born. She's already pregnant with Dean.
Now, if this was 12 Monkeys, that would have been a paradox. Because you can't be in the same place as the same thing.
Oh, right. So Dean can't be there and have her pregnant.
I mean, you can. It just it starts to cause like weird rips in space and time.
Sure.
So like if it's two objects, if I brought a spoon back and touched the spoon, folks, watch 12 Monkeys. It's now on Hulu. But
there you go, please do.
So them being in proximity to each other would be a problem, but not on Supernatural.
Not Supernatural, no. And but I like that little point of the plot. I like that she's already pregnant with Dean. It really makes you again the origin story. It's already underway. So Anna and a young Uriel attack. So even though they're back in time, it's a younger Uriel.
Yeah, right? That threw me too because Misha doesn't change.
But Misha goes back in time as well.
Yeah, Misha. It's not young Misha. Like you could run into.
It's the meat suit.
Well, no, but
I see what you're saying. Misha goes back in time.
Yeah, but so somewhere in that timeline there is a Cass who has like probably a mullet and is wearing a flipped up collar.
Well, he'd be 9 as well. He'd be 9.
He'd be 9. He'd be 9.
Yeah, he'd be a little kid.
But Uriel says to Anna, he's like, "Go, you're a different version of Anna, or you're an Anna from a different time, or whatever." He recognizes that. Well, when Anna and young Uriel attack, things don't go well. John gets thrown out a window. Sam gets stabbed in the chest with a pipe.
That was
and bleeds
such
out
a
the
great
pipe.
Note. The blood coming out the pipe.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was cool.
Uriel gives Dean a beatdown. Dean is helpless to save Mary from Anna. And suddenly, the Archangel Michael arrives in John's meat suit. And Michael...
Dare I say, Deus Ex Machina.
And
I wasn't sitting on that all night. That just came to me.
Wow. No, dude. You have a lot of Latin jokes you just like to
I do. I throw down in old languages. Wait till I bust out the Sanskrit.
Michael quickly disposes of Anna and Uriel. Michael explains that being a vessel runs in their bloodline and that free will is an illusion. This is the first time I realized, because fans always talk about team free will and all that. This is the first time I was like, that's what that's from.
And by the way, are we to assume that, and maybe this is me being an illiterate to the deep lore, Sam and Dean are descendants of Cain and Abel? Or are we all descendants of Cain and Abel?
That's a good question. I think I thought that he meant Sam and Dean.
But then he said, and he goes, and this bloodline goes all the way back to Cain and Abel.
Right.
As if to say that they are the daughters, the sons of Eden.
Right.
And is that a thing that's part of Supernatural that I'm not knowing?
I don't know.
I don't know.
You're saying are Sam and Dean basically Cain and Abel?
Are they descendants of?
Direct descendants of Cain and Abel.
Are they descendants of Adam and Eve?
But aren't we all technically?
Yes and no, because Adam and Eve went to the cities where there were people.
Right.
If we're going to go strict biblical terms.
Right. So when so that means somebody already started civilization because they're Adam and Eve
it's not like so.
Right.
But are they literally descendants of? I mean, because this is such a biblical show. Like you have Lilith, and you have biblical references left and right. I mean, it's Michael. And so
God and the Archangels.
Was he saying that it is the bloodline of Cain and Abel? And
that's
therefore,
a good question.
The children of Adam and Eve. Anyway.
Something for fans to discuss.
Which would make sense that why Sam would be this vessel of Satan, because they were in the garden together, or the bloodline were in the garden together when he was the serpent. Anyway.
Well, Michael says that Dean is destined to be the vessel for Michael. And the Archangel brings Sam back to life, wipes John and Mary's memories, and sends the brothers back home to fulfill their destinies. And we see a shot of John and Mary, and Mary's full on pregnant with Dean, and she's gotten this angel to overlook.
It's a very creepy, like, don't worry, angels are watching over you, which is a very sort of, I love the way they played that, because obviously she's saying it innocently because her memory's been erased, but meanwhile they're like playing ominous music, and we know that's like...
And one of those creepy, like, precious moments, porcelain angels.
Yeah, that toy is really creepy.
It's upsetting.
Right? It's like...
upsetting. And did the guys steal an Impala to drive around?
No, that's John's car.
No. When they pull up to the house...
Oh, what were they driving?
I think it might have been an Impala as well.
Really?
Because I was looking at it, I'm like, boy, he like looks around the parking lot, like, which car am I going to boost? And he's like, well, I got to boost.
That's
They drive an Impala up to their own house? That's weird.
It's a Chevelle.
Chevelle.
It was big. Chevelle. I mean, it had similar lines, but that could be the era.
Right. Let's talk about what we could like to call...
Okay, now we got to get into this. We're going to call this. We're just going to and TR.
Right.
Rob, Rich, and Todd, ratings.
All right, so we're gonna do the beard ratings.
And I got to think about this one, by the way. I need a minute.
All right.
Because this episode there's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just talking to you honestly, because that's what we're here to do.
Okay. All right.
There's a lot that was really cool about father-son moments, mother-son moments. Anna's great. I mean, Julie McNiven, the acting is great. Matt Cohen's great. Amy Gumenick's great. Jared delivers beautiful moments. Jensen as well. It's great. It wasn't one of my favorites. Because I still found it was setting up a lot. There was a lot of
and at the same
chatting.
time, the song remained the same. Nothing changed.
There you go.
Right. They didn't move the ball forward or backwards, right?
Except that they took Ed off the playing field.
Right.
She's no longer in play.
And we kind of we find out this whole thing about free will and that Dean's destined to be the vessel for Michael, and maybe that means Sam is destined to be a vessel for Lucifer.
And I know a lot of people binge this show, and so this comment sort of plays into this. So Rob and I were prepping to do 2 episodes today, so I watched 512 right before this one, which is a lighthearted Tiptoe Through the Tulips episode.
Freaky Friday
goofy
episode.
Body swapping, and it's funny. And then to go from that one right into this one, I think I was in that headspace and went into this one, and this was so heavy and talky and different, and I was still...
You still wanted the yucks.
Enjoying that one. Yeah, I don't know. I obviously liked it for the significance of what it is, but if I'm putting myself in the framework of a viewer who's just watching the episode, loved it, I felt like it dragged in beats. I felt like there are parts that weren't my favorite.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Look, there are a couple plot holes, like we pointed out, but like Matt as Michael giving that speech at the end. Matt and Amy are both so good, and Amy kicks ass. Julie McNiven's incredible. It felt like an iconic episode. Just felt like one of those iconic Supernatural episodes. For me, it's because of the era. It's a 1970s Loggins and Messina Kenny Loggins.
Right.
Wow.
You're going full on best
70s
review
Loggins.
ever.
70s Loggins. My top review is Loggins from like the soundtrack to Footloose Loggins. That's the top. But this is the 1978 Loggins.
Right. Okay.
I came I just watched this episode having not been in the supernatural mode as you guys are week after week. You've been watching the show. And so there was a lot of curious reactions that I had, which was I'm reminded of this sort of the CW signature is like beautiful, youthful humans saying like massive lore stuff, dressed in impeccably hip kind of mid 2000s wear. And so it was like such oh wow, this is CW in its purest form, even though they were dressed in like 1978. At the same time, she still had her like cool cargo jacket on and her like green with her layers and her jeans and boots, and the boys with the jeans and boots. And I was like, oh wow, this is like at some day someone's going to be able to do something in the style of the CW, and the earmarks are all over this thing.
That's so interesting, and you're right.
It was really wild, having not watched it in a while. And
because there ain't no ugly in the CW.
No.
Baby. I mean.
No. And so it's like, and again, Julie McNiven, beautiful, talented actress going like heaven, I escaped heaven, and blah, 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 like all of this profound lore put in the like ancient lore coming out of the mouths of youthful people, which is really such a
I even thought
signifier.
the first shot of like the 2 strippers in front of Dean, it's almost like just to lure in the viewers, or like, maybe I'll switch the channel. Oh no, I won't.
That also felt dated to me. That not in a 1978 way, just sort of a CW TV early 2000s.
Yeah, and so I was kind of seeing, and all of that really started with Buffy. That like all of the hip cultural references that were throughout, the DeLorean, like dropping all of the pop culture stuff in there, was this was a quintessential CW circa 2008, I believe this 2009 episode, and so that was the first thing that struck me. The second thing that struck me was the pan over to the Grease poster, and I got really happy.
Oh, I couldn't help but wonder. I noticed that, and in the previous episode, Rob, in 512, when they show the Star Wars shirt, and then they show the Grease poster, are those not blindingly expensive clearances?
They might be owned by Warner Brothers. Well, Star Wars isn't.
Star Wars. I mean, but this is
Star
going
Wars.
back
I don't know
many
if that
years.
was a sponsored shirt that he was wearing that last episode, but in this, it was full on Grease poster.
I don't know.
You're right. That
But
so maybe Warner Brothers owns
in my
that.
mind, I'm like, well, there's no way they paid the rights for this. So it was obviously a different time where you could either do that or the clearance fee was very low or something.
Or maybe there's a certain amount of seconds you're allowed to hold on it.
I don't know.
Or they went, it's great advertising for Grease.
Yeah.
Sure is.
I would say, though, I would just say on top of what you said, Todd, I agree. So it's very CW. And at the same time, compared to the other shows on CW at the time, I do feel like this show stands out as being a little more cinematic.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Well, the people that make the show are fans of cinema. Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, I don't think what Todd is saying as because the style of the show, the
it's not a pejorative.
Yeah, no.
I just think he's right in that you end up with a look for the show because
it's a look and a vibe that then you can go, oh wow, if we were,
it's this,
well, because you're paying for those amazingly,
you're paying for those faces, you're going to get those close-ups.
Let's get them.
Yeah.
But just everything is very clean. Like the clothes are very like off the rack clean, and the people are very clean and manicured, and it's comfort food too, right? It's like to go back and watch this. It is now a simpler time. Even though we were like coming out of George W. and going into Obama around then, so it was a very simple time, and I think that was part of what works about that show is like how pretty and cool and pop culture and hip it is, and then up against the horror and the lore.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
100%.
So it's more of a global view of Supernatural and less this episode. But
it's all completely valid and interesting because you're coming into it after being out of it for a while. You've probably watched monster movie to have an interview with us, but you haven't seen a lot.
Yeah.
So what are your beards, gentlemen?
Okay, I've got mine. I had to think about it. It's not a Stapleton. I'll just say that right off the top. Which for me, Todd, that's my high water mark.
Sure.
Chris Stapleton, modern Chris Stapleton. But I'm giving it a great review.
Okay.
So people out there who are throwing things at their radio, calm down. It's going to get a good review.
Also, fantastic that you're listening to podcasts on the radio.
We are live, right? We're taking callers after this, I assume. And after the weather report, we'll give you the traffic. But anyway, I'm going with Bradley Delp, 1978.
Nice.
I'm going with Bradley Delp. That's the lead singer of Boston, who would have been a popular band at the time.
Okay.
Probably on the radio at the time. There's the Delp for the guys with me.
Okay.
I'm going to the Bradley Delp, 1978 Brad Delp.
R.I.P. Bradley Delp, by the way.
All right. I was going to do it on a sliding scale of Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
In terms of length. So you would, it would be Aragorn to Gandalf with Gimli being in the middle. But if we're going 70s, I gotta say this was.
You choose your whatever works for you, dude.
You know what? I'm going to depart from my normal beard scale. This is a Kenny Rogers.
That's a solid.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this:
Yeah.
Is this Kenny Rogers? Stop by to see what condition my condition is in, Rogers, or Gambler?
Gambler.
Okay, so it's Gambler era Rogers. So
solo
Gambler.
It's not
solo
It's
Rogers.
not six-pack Rogers.
Right. It's not with the fifth dimension.
It's Kenny Rogers on the Muppet Show.
Right. Gotcha.
Singing the Gambler, which is the best version of that song, and there's a gambler ghost in it.
Wow.
The gambler becomes a ghost because somewhere in the evening the gambler he broke even.
That's right.
Which meant he died, and then the ghost puppet drifts away as Kenny Rogers is singing to it, which is smack dab in 1978. And so I'm going Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers. All right, I love it. But I got to correct myself.
I was 10 years old in 78.
Wow.
I mentioned that Kenny Rogers was in the fifth dimension, which he was not. He was in the first edition.
The first edition.
That was the band.
Right. Fifth Dimension.
And not the new edition.
Group, right?
Not
new edition.
He was not in new edition. He would have really stood out in his new edition.
Yeah. Candy Girl.
Or Belle Biv DeVoe.
Who cares who you like?
Belle Biv DeVoe.
The spinoff.
That's a good. By the way, this is a good review for this episode. This episode should sleep well tonight.
Everyone should be. Yeah, totally. Before we let you go, Todd, please tell us about this thing you've got going on called Progcore.
Progcore. So, well, you know what? Beautifully dovetailing in. So when I started playing the Dungeons and Dragons, 78, 79, my touch points, my cultural touch points were like the Rankin and Bass Hobbit and Excalibur and Bakshi's Lord of the Rings and Legend and Dragon Slayer and all that Tangerine Dream and listening to Styx and Zeppelin and Kansas and all of that prog rock of that era. And it really gave me a vibe that informed young Todd's, imagination life and how I played games and the pictures I drew. And it was a feeling of newness to the game that I loved. And so myself and my buddy David Nett are creating a multimedia project that is celebrating that new vibe, but with all of those influences. So progcore is that vibe of dark fantasy, that late 70s, early 80s vibe. And Dark Age of Fear is the land. And so it's going to be a source book for D&D gaming or Pathfinder or whatever your game is. It's going to be an album. We're cutting a prog rock album. It's going to be an animation to celebrate that vibe of animation. It's going to be an actual play where I sit around a table here in my nerd lair and we film it documentary style, playing D&D. It's also going to be a candle so that your room can smell like 1978, and we all know what that smells like.
So it's a brand. It's a whole brand.
Yeah, it's a multi-headed dragon here that we're making, and it's going to kickstart in a few weeks. And so people can go to Progcore, PROGCORE Fantasy, progcorefantasy.com, and you can be notified when it launches. It's gonna be cool.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So even if you don't play, it's going to be a cool book with stories. Terry Metalis is writing one of the stories. Mark Bernardin is writing one of the stories. These are luminaries who write a lot of the fiction that people consume on TV right now.
Well, you're talking to two people that love that era.
Yeah, man.
If I could time travel back, I think I'd go to that era. It's just, it's my childhood, and that sounds great, man.
It's going to be cool.
I love the vibe.
It's going to be cool. It's just, it's a chance to put my own thumbprint on something that I already love and to bring back that feeling of early gaming to even to modern players, as I like to say, because what we want to do is excise all the racism and sexism that lived in a lot of that dark fantasy. So it's new wine in old bottles.
Oh, that's a great analogy. Great way of saying it. So you're going back, fixing what was broken, but keeping what was awesome.
And the song remains the same.
And scene.
Thank you. I'll be all week.
You're a trained professional.
Like I've done this before.
It's so great to have you here. First of all, you heard the man. Go to progcore.com, right? That's the website?
Yep. Progcore Fantasy.
Fantasy.
Because we're leaving it open, so down the road we could do Progcore Galactic or Progcore whatever. So this
cool.
Progcore is the headspace. It's the vibe. And then, but right now we're doing Progcore Fantasy to celebrate, the sticks of it all.
All right, well, let's all go check out Progcore Fantasy, learn more about it and get involved.
Thanks.
And it's so awesome, Todd, to have you here. And you got to come back, man.
I'd love to be back.
So great.
Please.
We'll do this again. And I also want to take you up one day on having, however we want to do it, you, me, and Rob playing D&D, because I've never played.
I would do it. I could run the two of you through an adventure.
I think it'd be really fun to do, even if we did it like as some sort of live stream or something.
That's what I'm saying. That'd be a lot of fun.
Okay. Awesome.
Sweet.
Thank you, Todd. You rock.
Peace.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
We will be right back.
You can shop from anywhere doing pretty much anything. You might shop while working, eating, or even listening to this podcast. And however you shop, we all know and love the thrill of the hunt. But do you also know how to get the thrill of the best deals? Because Rakuten shoppers do. With Rakuten, they get the deals they love with the most savings and cash back. And you can get it too. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Sephora, Nike, and even Expedia if you're looking to get some travel in. And getting cash back doesn't mean you have to miss out on sales, because those can just be stacked right on top. It's easy to use and based on a simple idea. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cash back through PayPal or check. Download the free Rakuten app and never miss a deal. Or go to Rakuten.com to start getting the most bang for your buck. That's Rakuten.
As a podcast network, our focus is bringing you shows you love to listen to. But we also sell merch related to those shows. And partnering with Shopify has made that both possible and simple for us to do. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor adventures, Shopify helps you sell everywhere because they've got you covered from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. What's so fantastic about Shopify is how, no matter how big you want to grow, they provide everything you need to get control of your business so you can take it to the next level. Businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/realm.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. And now back to the episode. We're so excited to have returning to the podcast fan favorites and friends of ours, Matt Cohen and Amy Gumenick. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hi. It was so funny last night. It was so fun, I should say, last night watching this episode, which I had never seen before. You both are so sweet.
So great.
Yeah. I mean, and I could say this because you're my friends. Amy, you have not changed. Matt, you have changed.
Disappointing.
The mark of a real friend.
I mean,
Matt, you're really hot. You're still hot.
Oh, thank you. That's all that's important. I have no rebuttal.
You look so young, you know.
I know. Well, it was so young in mine and yours relationship. You know, the stress takes its toll after a certain period, and now I'm just I'm the hot old guy now.
I did that.
Thanks to you and Rich.
No, yeah, you guys are you're both so good, and it's so believable as the young version of their parents too. Like it's so believable, the whole bit. I really enjoyed the whole thing.
Thank you.
A lot.
Yeah, it's really great. And now we get to see more of the origin story. Now we get to see more of the whole thing, which I thought was really interesting. Having not seen this episode before, it was way more complex than I anticipated, because it's almost like, oh, this is what they based the Winchesters on, kind of. Like, I mean, it's the Mary that we don't see much, the Hunter Mary.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which I thought, again, not seeing it, but I thought that was like, that came later. That
So did
they decided that Sam Smith was actually a hunter at some point. I didn't know that was written into the show, that was baked in. And also, it was such a great episode for you, Matt, because we haven't seen your character flushed out as much. And we really got to see a lot of you, I thought, and you both nailed it. And, you know, we've introduced you on stage as like, oh, and you also play Michael. I was like, oh, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, we didn't know what we were talking about. But no.
So how excited were you guys? How excited were you to get the call that you were coming back?
I mean, I was excited to come back to the show. Obviously, I literally remember sitting down and reading that script and going, after 5 seasons of a show, you would think that they could get the character's name right throughout the whole 50 pages of the script. I think I'm this guy, Michael, but I don't understand. And, you know, I had to do the backstory. And like we all know, you know, the chance and the opportunity to play different characters and kind of different arcs as guest stars is kind of the treasure trove of interest that is Supernatural. So I thought it was really cool. I remember seeing, you know, Amy do all this fun kind of stunt work and all this stuff, and it was just a really fun episode. You know, I think it was I want to say Steve Boyum directed.
He did.
Is that right? You guys know?
Yeah.
And so he had a stunt guy literally on a wire get sucked through the side of the house, out a window, into a windmill where I, you know, then sat in and sat up as the shot. But it was just a really cool episode. And, you know, watching Amy and all the garage sequences with Julie McNiven.
Oh, yeah, and Julie.
You know, there was so much going on. Amy, what was that like for you? You remember any of that stunt work?
Yeah, it's so funny. I was actually also watching little clips of the episode just to jog my memory. It feels like a lifetime ago. One of the things that I felt like as an actor, such a gift working with Steve was that he let me go for it in terms of like the stunts and the fighting and the weaponry, all of that. He was very much, and this is rare, at least my experience is oftentimes they don't let the actors do a lot of that fun stuff. And Steve was like, hey, if you want to try it, we have your stunt double on set. She's ready to go, but go for it. And so that was such a fun, unexpected challenge for me to really be able to literally step into those shoes. And then working with Julie, it sort of felt like a dance. they didn't let me do things like I didn't crash into the windshield. I wanted to, but that was sort of where the line was drawn.
Yeah, it's a good line to have drawn, by the way. It's we want that line.
I mean,
drawn.
I could have done it. But yeah, I think, anytime that there is, the first episode we did was, I always say that Supernatural is like the gift that keeps on giving. It was my first professional job.
Oh, wow.
And so that first episode was sort of like dream come true, best case scenario. And then to be able to do it again and sort of continue this. And like you said, getting to see this backstory, it feels like they had known this all along, but to kind of get in the mind of the writers to like answer these questions and these holes, to give the audience sort of that like peek into who these people were, their origin story.
Yeah.
Was just so fun.
Yeah. And the fact that you're pregnant with Dean, it's cool. It's a cool, like, sort of, it doesn't leave it open ended, like, wait, so what happens? Like you get that final shot of you guys and you're pregnant and you know what I mean? It puts closure on that.
It's a real trip. Do you remember the scene order, Amy? Do you remember if you guys shot you early or late in that schedule?
I think it was later.
I feel like it was the last day almost.
But I remember I was way too excited to wear that pregnancy suit. We have some ridiculous photos on set.
Really?
Very fun.
There's definitely a picture of me like an NFL punter getting ready to catch the baby down
Just
low.
like in real life. That's how it works.
Sure. Yeah, like you do.
I assume.
You put on a leotard and then,
have
a baby.
That's so fun too, because I pair you guys in my mind when I met you is the same time that I met Julie McNiven and I adore all of you, and I had no idea that you had this whole thing together. That must have been really fun working with her in that capacity.
So fun. I actually met Julie working on this episode, and we sort of instantly became like, it was like we'd known each other our whole lives. I remember one of our first nights filming, our hotel rooms were right next to each other. And we're like, after I think it was even a rehearsal. I don't think we had started filming yet. We were just going to like run lines and ended up talking till like 2 a.m. It's like, and I have a new best friend. Again, Supernatural. Wow. That's what they do.
Yeah. Yep. Totally. Totally.
There was such gravitas in this story for both of you, but for you, Matt, it sort of unfolded slowly, right? You come in just a sweet, innocent guy and are fed information that turns you a certain way. Whereas you, the second you open the door, you're somewhere different. And I think that must have been a really cool task to be handed, because you're playing two versions of Mary in one scene, one to your husband and one to these people who know your backstory, and jockeying those two energies. That's not your typical guest star assignment. I mean, that's a great role. How did you, what was your reaction when you realized you were given such deep stuff to do? And B, what was the approach?
Ooh, good question. I mean, I was thrilled, kind of similar to what Matt was saying, reading the script. There were so many surprises and twists and turns and sort of little like nuggets, little gifts that we were handed. And it's interesting that you ask that, because when I was just rewatching it, I don't think that I fully remembered how intense that sort of duality was, that playing this double life, these secrets, and sort of wrapping my head around where Mary is in an emotional state when suddenly she's like, her past is thrown in her face, and yet she realizes what's at stake if her husband finds out. And I think that for me, opening that door, that moment was such a pivotal one for her, of like facing this reality. Like, now what? My life is never going to be the same after this moment. It wouldn't have played without everybody being so present and so in it. Matt's reaction is, I remember filming that. There were a few takes that we all just sort of started cracking up, because all of the reactions, Jared's look of just like deer in headlights. I think that it was so real and so in the moment for all of us that it kind of, I don't know, Matt, you can jump in here, but I feel like it sort of unfolded as we were doing it. I don't think that any of us really could have anticipated what that moment was going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember anything from the episode at all. It was so effing long ago. But I'm little pieces. You're bringing little pieces back to me, and I'll tell you something that's popping out. I remember the scene where I kind of die and then come back in as Michael. We rehearsed before lunch, and then we were going directly to lunch. We were going to come back after lunch and shoot and actually tape. And I had done one rehearsal before lunch, and Steve was like, "All right, yeah, great, whatever." And then Jared and Jensen were both like, hey, you need to come look at this. And they showed me footage of Jared, I think, playing Lucifer or like somebody in a white suit in a previous episode that hadn't aired yet. And he goes, you guys are doing the same thing. You can't do the same thing. And I was like, thank you. And literally the boys, an hour before I was about to do that, changed my whole performance for the better, because they were like, you're playing this guy that Jared already played. Pretend to be somebody else. And our performances were so spot on. And then Another thing that I want to bring up real quick. There's a scene where I'm in the bedroom drawing the sigil on the door with some blood, and Jared sits there and vents about his dad, and I'm like, how could he do this to you? Jared gave a hell of a performance in that scene, and he did it in one take. Obviously, we all know he loves one take, but he delivered so strongly. I remember Steve going to me, he goes, you're not the one supposed to get emotional on this. And I was like, look at the guy. Yeah. I mean, the guy is pouring his heart out about his dad, and he feels every word of it. So, shout out to those guys. And it's obviously a reason that show went on to do 15 seasons and probably has some life left in its future, because they give a crap about how it comes out. And that's always
So you're talking about the note that they gave you was about your turn to Michael?
Yeah, it was so much like, because I thought, oh, let me play like this devious kind of, character. And Jared was like, look at this. Here's my performance. It's identical to what you're doing. And Jensen goes, just keep doing it like somebody else is, inside your meat suit, but just bring a little bit more humanity to it, was kind of the direction they kicked me off on. And, Jensen and I did the scene like 2 or 3 times, and that was it. And Jared was laying on the floor the whole time. So he was like, no, less, more. And, they kind of really nurtured me through that. It was like 7, 8 pages of whatever I was saying.
It was great. Your turn to Michael was great.
It's great, man. That's cool. And it's nice to see it, in certain situations, a guest star could be offended if the lead guys were like, hey, take a note. But that set has such a, we're all here, rising tide raises all boats sort of energy there, where it's like, hey, let us help you because we know stuff you don't know. It's actually very, very, very kind they did that, not very micromanaging, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I am a person that respects when somebody goes, wow, you're nailing it, you're doing a great job. And in the same tone, I'm like, hey, am I nailing it? Am I phoning it in? Like, don't let me be crappy on your show, season 5, when, once upon a time, that was going to be kind of the end of Supernatural, like, let me come in and do a great job. And then Jared literally pulls out a laptop and goes, here are my dailies from I think it was the last episode or 2 episodes before, him in a white suit. And I think he was playing Lucifer, but Lucifer was, in Sam's meat suit. And so it was very much a different version of Sam. And he goes, we can't be the same person. You're Michael. I was Lucifer in the meat suit. And Jensen was like, yeah, I think just a little bit more humanity, blah, blah, blah. And, we were there. And I want to do great. That's it. I don't care who says it, how we say it. If you got a critique, let's go. Give me a critique and let's move forward.
But they can do that in a way that, there are ways to do that would be annoying or offensive. Then luckily they're not those guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, when you say it, I'm mostly offended when you give me direction. But anybody else is just,
when I say it to you, I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
We're not even shooting this.
Notion. You got an interesting thing handed to you, Matt, in so much as it's as far as I know, Rob and I are still making our way through the show, but it's certainly up until what we see now. It's the first time you see John Winchester insecure, because you are playing you guys think I'm dumb. You don't think I know what I'm doing. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm not in on the joke here. Like, it's really interesting to see the social anxiety of John Winchester play out. And to a kid that you as your son, that you think is your peer, but is, so it's a very well written scene. And you and Jared do a really good job of it.
And you see then in the life that is John Winchester, you get to see how her death is really what turned him, right? And you can kind of see this now. These seeds are planted, but like when she dies on the ceiling or whatever, then that's when he goes into beast mode, at that point. But I agree with Rich. It's interesting to see the sensitive side.
It's funny that we're just getting to this point, because the two of you and I have spent so much time on stage together, and people ask all the time. When you went to play Jeffrey, did you watch all of his episodes of Supernatural? And you guys have heard me say this before. I go, no, I did. I watched him from Supernatural, but I tried to pull aspects of him from Grey's Anatomy, where he plays this character Denny, because he's just got a little less of that edge on him, and he's a little sweeter and he's a little kinder, and everybody just wants to kiss his big, beautiful face. And I was like, I have to be something else besides dark John Winchester. My wife is, I'm just meeting her. I'm just getting married to her. We're just, we're going to have a baby. It's all the exciting parts of life before it goes dark, So now you guys know why I tried to pull performance aspects from something else.
It finally makes sense 15 years later.
Yeah.
And I love the part of you that's like, he's naive. He doesn't know, but he's like, well, what do you need me to do? Your real blood? Got it. Give me the knife. And he cuts his hand. You know what I mean? Like he's ready to go.
He's like, I got this, Junior.
Poor John.
And you feel like that is the Jeffrey Dean that he turns into. That is the Sam and Dean that he has within him. That like, yeah, I can do it, and my voice will get deeper on this dialogue. You don't worry about that for a second.
Amy, I love the spin with the knife, the twirling the knife.
Thank you.
Did that take practice? What?
Yes. That knife became an extension of me. I took the knife home with me. The knife went a prop version, a rubber version. Right. But yeah, that spin in particular, they really wanted. And I was determined to get it. And I literally it was constant. That thing was always in my hand until we filmed.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I picture you trying to go into a restaurant in Vancouver. Yeah. Ma'am, you can't bring that in here.
No, they took it away at customs when I tried to fly home. I was sad to part with that.
Wow. Well, it really works, man. You're like, oh, wow. She knows what she's doing.
Thank you.
She's bending the blade. I know, but that's kind of kudos to you, because it's simple but dedicated homework that gives the familiarity with the piece that makes the bit work.
Yeah. Well, I think it's those little details which, the writers at the short are so brilliantly created and found these little moments that made it feel real. Yeah. Made a character that you wouldn't suspect be super skilled knife fighter suddenly just with that little details, like, oh yeah, that's in her, that's part of her.
Yeah. I love the scene too when you're all in the car together. It's really fun. And Matt goes, I'm going to turn this car around.
Oh.
Yeah.
That whole bit is so great. And, just to sort of see the family unit together. Matt, I'm sure you get a lot of questions about this, but I always feel like anyone who gets to drive Baby is like it's a special thing to be able to get to drive.
Yeah, there's only
Baby.
a handful of people, right, who've done that.
Right.
Yeah, I remember the boys, I think one take we were all four maybe in the car, kind of landing, but the other take, they were literally like using me as almost a transpo guy just to drive it in the wide shot, all the way down the dirt road. And I remember like being like, oh shit, I'm driving I'm in the mouth of the car right now, like just doing it. Then something in you just wants to turn into the weeds and be like, and just start doing some donuts, You just want to take advantage of it. And Jensen's always like, you can give it a little more if you want. Don't be scared of it. You give it a little more. And then you're like, is the lead actor of this show trying to get me fired? You never know with those guys, because it's always, everything's a joke. Everything's light. Yeah. It's all fun until we're in the scene. So yeah, it was cool. It was cool to drive it. And I most recently got to see it in New Jersey. I guess, I think the picture car was there, and I sat in it with my little brother who's now 21. Wow. And I kind of filled him in on all of the life that has taken place in this car and what this car has meant to the series. And it's just nice to be, sitting in that car.
Yeah.
It's been such a piece of my existence in Hollywood.
Yeah, right.
There's this spin-off.
For real.
Baby.
Yeah, Baby, the spin-off.
The car could talk.
Perspective of the car, it's Knight Rider, except the car has the voice of AI Jensen meets Alexa.
All right. Yeah, I was in my mind, being a first-time watcher, I was like, oh, right, it's John's car. Of course he's driving.
Exactly. No one can get frustrated that he's driving. It's his.
How old were you guys actually? I mean, you don't have to give your exact age, but are you both in real life, were you in your mid-20s-ish?
Early 20s, probably,
I have no idea.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I was probably in my mid 20s or late 20s because I'm a little bit older, I think, than Ames over there. But yeah, it feels like forever ago, specifically when I see my face in the episode. I'm like, the elasticity. Oh my gosh.
Well, and that your hairdo, both of you, the hairdos are so great in period.
Yeah, the period piece stuff is awesome. Weirdly, the period piece, the costuming and the hair make the car seem contemporary. because it all makes sense.
Totally.
One thing that I remembered about you bringing up the period piece, Matt, I don't know if you remember this, but when we were filming this scene just before Sam and Dean appear at the front door, we're setting up for dinner. And I remember at one point, I don't even know if we were filming or if we were about to start rolling, I opened one of the drawers because they basically were like, just be natural. You're setting up for dinner. Just let us kind of play. And I opened one of the drawers and the utensils were so perfectly period.
Oh,
and like
wow.
nobody ever saw the fork, but it was
Right.
I remember thinking like, wow, the detail, like they are on every little tiny detail that we don't ever even see, which I think also as the actors playing that, I mean, I love working in period roles, but just made it again so much more real. We were like, oh, this is our life. We're setting up for dinner, and this fork I would find at my grandparents' house.
Yeah. I noticed that with when they first get there and the extras outside, everyone looks of the time, and and your hair, Amy, you look like my older sister's prom pictures. With the hair flipped up like that. That's how my older sisters wore their hair.
The weird thing is though, like there are looks that are dated and kind of like awkward looking. Those looks still looked awesome. Like, on you guys, and even like when I see like weirdly that look translates well through time. You know what I mean? Like the clothes still look cool. The cars are still cool. Like it just looked awesome.
I think that era specifically, kind of through the 70s into the early and mid 80s, was just such a unique time where, cars had a distinct style, clothes, music, everything. I remember, working in that same scene that Amy was talking about with the silverware, and there was a rotary phone on the wall. And it's just, as soon as you see a rotary phone, I grew up with those in the house, and then they went away, obviously, and now we're on cell phones. But when you go to hold a rotary phone in just the scene, you change your characteristics of just how you hold the phone. Like, it's just, you're leaning on the wall, and it's this whole thing. And you hold the bottom of the phone because it's round and the middle's skinny. You just have a different, like, it just takes you to a different time.
You're right.
Yeah, so shout out to the entire, obviously, art design team and just the set deck and just everybody at Supernatural. They delivered for so long at such a high level. It's just truly amazing how much they help thrust these characters into the place they need to be to deliver a performance.
Yeah,
it's great.
I'm constantly, when we're asked to watch these episodes, and I'm constantly like, reminded how it's really not like any other show on the CW ever at that time and now. Obviously, well, now CW is a different thing, but it's just different. It's different. I don't feel like I'm watching a network show, much less a CW show, which is, to me, was always more like teenagery and, and it became kind of superhero. But this is darker and it's more cinematic, and it just feels more like a streamer, like a modern day streamer.
And it's so, the situations when taken out of context are so out there and, obviously sci-fi, and yet you watch it and, I think it largely is because of the actors, but also to Matt's point that like every single person on that show is pouring every ounce of themselves into it, that it makes it real. Like, of course we're fighting demons. That would happen tomorrow. Like they take this like fantastical situation and make it totally believable.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I just, on the way home from Ohio this weekend, I watched Aquaman 2, of all things. And this is all on topic and off topic, but the love story of Aquaman 2 was these brothers who broke up and tried to basically kill each other in the first movie, and now they reunite and become brothers again. And I found it so grounding and refreshing while I'm watching this thing. I'm like, wow, these guys are bickering. They overcome a conflict. They bicker, overcome a conflict. And that is what is so great and has always been so attractive about Supernatural, is when you watch it, it's a family story, and the episode starts with, the boys are like, come on, let's go here. And I don't know if I want want to go. Is that such a smart idea? All right, here we go. Let's team up. Let's save the day. Let's be together, and I just think it's so attractive to have that sibling love story rather than always going for the relationship, romantic relationship love story. I think a sibling love story is just a hell of a backbone to carry a series or a movie to depend on. And I think that's why people responded to the show so well. It's just that love story that's so,
the family love story and your characters as well. I mean, it really truly is that unit. It's the family business. Yeah. Well, not to gush too much, but I just, you're both so talented. It was really fun to see you, in this. And it's an iconic episode. It truly is one of the really good ones.
Iconic, and your relationship is so on the page and so great the way you guys execute it. And both of you are playing so many layers between what you know, what you don't know, what you can reveal, what you can't reveal, and then what gets taken away when those memories are wiped away. I mean, gosh, it's just layer upon layer. You guys did a great job.
Not easy to do.
Not easy at all. Fun, challenging, so fun. Makes for great TV, and make for a great job, I bet. But you guys really nailed it, both of you.
Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And you'll have to come back and talk more as you appear more. Thank you both for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, love you both. Love you both a lot.
Thank you. Love you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys. Love you too. Have a great one, and we'll see you again soon. Hopefully, we'll talk about something more.
Great.
Mwah, bye.
Hey, this is Jeffrey Dean Morgan. We are going to take a quick break. Hey, it's Jeffrey D. Morgan again. Welcome back to the podcast.
Well, that was so great. It was so great to see to see our old friends again.
I love having them together because they're so in linked together on the show, and then they still have such a good rapport and a friendship now that it's great to have them as part of a singular interview.
Yeah, totally. Well, we'll have to have them back as
anytime. They're
guest
delightful.
Reviewers. Yeah. Yeah, we need to have Julie McNiven back too.
100%. She also just destroys it in this episode. She's so good.
Okay, well, let's get into something we like to call mythology.
Mythology.
We need to get somebody else to do this.
What? I'm fighting a cold. It's not even a cold. I got a throat thing, man. I got a throat thing.
I know. We're all aware. And now we all do too. I think anyone listening to this podcast just caught whatever you have.
And by the way, we're now changing the title of mythology to Mytholikoff.
Macaphily. Sigils are heavily featured in this episode. So what's a sigil? A sigil is a symbol created for a specific magical purpose. Where does that come from, Rich?
No, the term sigil comes from the Latin word sigillium. Nope. Sigillum, which means seal. For example, I love the musician Sigillum, who married Heidi Klum.
That's right. He's great.
He had that great song Crazy and Kissed by a Rose.
Kiss from a Rose.
Yeah, Kiss from a Rose. Anyway, sigils are often used in various forms of magical practices, including chaos magic, organized magic.
It's a rabbit from a hat.
Chaos magic, ceremonial magic, and witchcraft to represent a specific intent or desire. The creation and use of sigils are thought to tap into the subconscious mind to help manifest the practitioner's intentions in the real world.
All right, so you're at home, you're going, how do I make a sigil? Well, here's how.
Yeah, this is our DIY sigil recipe. Robert?
Okay. Number 1.
I'll do the background music. Blink, 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 blink.
Formulate
blink.
a clear intent statement. I want Richard to disappear. I'd like to have Richard's wife as my own. Something like that. 2, condense the statement by removing the vowels and repeat consonants.
All right.
I don't know.
Oh, you can't use the vowels. Oh, that's interesting.
So Rich's wife becomes Rich.
Okay. Now you sound like Scooby Doo.
I know. Jesus, combine the remaining letters into a unique symbol. This can be done by overlapping, stylizing, and abstracting the letters. Charge the sigil through chanting, meditation, or visualization.
Okay.
And then finally, release and forget. It's important to release it into the subconscious by forgetting about it. This allows the intention to work without the conscious mind interfering.
Well, I can tell you that this process does work, and I can prove it with 2 words: Rob's mustache. I conjured that son of a bitch.
That's funny.
I willed it into being.
That you did. It's interesting. Very interesting. So
that's a lot of work.
With this,
but hey, if you want me dead bad enough.
So if you do you have to do it in blood? I guess it doesn't have to be in blood.
Doesn't say anything about blood. Hey, don't be adding to the recipe.
No.
Recipe's right there.
All right, yeah, now I get it. Great. Well, you too can have your best friend in a mustache if you follow those 5 steps.
It'd be weird if you kind of screw up your incantations and you end up with my wife with your mustache.
All right. Well, not that wasn't fun, but let's get into real fun here.
That's a fraction of the fun we're about to have because this segment is called Fun Facts.
The title of the episode comes from a Led Zeppelin song with the same name.
Ah.
Yeah, that song remains the same.
Yeah, that song does remain the same. Jensen Ackles' first episode of Dawson's Creek is also named The Song Remains the Same. That's a trip.
That is a trip. Wow. That's almost like the Kennedy's Secretaries Lincoln and Lincoln's Secretaries Kennedy kind of thing.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
The car Anna lands on in 1978 is a 1981 Pontiac Trans Am.
Ooh, it was like the future in the past while they're going back to the past in the future.
But it was worth it because that shot is really cool because the wings.
Yeah, it's
she
very
lands on
cool.
The trunk of the car and the wings I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, me too. Totally cool.
And that's it. That's all your fun facts.
That's all the fun facts. Nothing else about that show is fun or factual. No, it's a great episode. Lot going on. Very serious, heavy episode. Heavy-handed. I guess heavy-handed is the wrong word. It's just it's a dense episode of serious things.
Yeah, and I very much enjoyed it. Really liked that episode.
Lovely to see a cast of the greats all working together.
Yeah.
Well, what a great episode. Thank you all for being here. This is a good one with a great interview. And a really strong facial hair showing by Rob. I'm not talking about the reviews. I'm simply talking about the mustache.
And it was great to have Todd Stashworth.
Dude, I love that guy so much.
Yeah.
Todd Stashworth. A positive force of energy. So anytime Todd wants to come here, we need to have him on.
Absolutely. So definitely check out Progcore, and we'll talk to him soon, I'm sure, as well. And we'll talk to you on our next episode.
Absolutely, we will. Wait, me?
No, them.
Oh.
This episode of Supernatural features Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester, Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester, and Misha Collins as Castiel.
Guest stars include Amy Gumenick, Matt Cohen, Julie McNiven, and Matt Ward.
The Song Remains the Same was written by Sarah Gamble and Nancy Weiner, directed by Steve Boyle.
Editing by Anthony Pinker, music by Christopher Leonards.
Executive produced by Eric Kripke and Robert Singer.
The original broadcast of this episode featured the following songs: Cherry Pie by Warrant and The Creeper by Molly Hatchet.
Yeah. This episode originally aired on February 4th, 2010. This episode of Supernatural Then and Now was hosted and executive produced by Richard Spade Jr. and Rob Benedict.
Produced by Stephen Hine, written by Stephen Hine and Haida Holscher.
And edited and associate produced by Trey Booty. Music provided by Tim Wynn.
The episode was recorded with the help of Sonic Fuel Studios.
This podcast is from Story Mill Media.
Follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at SPN Then and Now.
And become a member of the podcast at www.patreon.com/SPN Then and Now. But the Supernatural audience would know him best from Hollywood Babylon. He's a classic.
Hollywood Babylon?
No, it's
Monster movie. Why the hell are you saying?
Sorry.
Wow.
Sorry.
You know,
wow.
I said good day. I said good day.
Sorry. Sorry.
First of all, I was racking my brain to go.
Is there an episode
what am I missing?
Hollywood Babylon?
There should
make that up out of nowhere?
There is an episode called Hollywood Babylon, but Todd's not in it.
Okay,
nor are we.
No.
All right, good. Let me do that again.
No, let's leave that in.
I like you leave that because I love that Todd busted you. Hollywood Babylon.
Stop it. You stop it. You go back and look in your Twitter while I'm doing interviews. Okay.
Who's got who's garbage day?
That's me.
That's like in 5.1 surround sound.
Actors are just like us.
Yeah, man.
They're just
Actors
like
have
us.
garbage too.
We have garbage too.
Oh, puppy.
Storymill Media.
Nowadays, trends and news cycles change faster than we can blink. But there are some things that withstand the test of time. And if you're looking for a connection to something timeless, and maybe also a glimpse of life at a slower pace, I believe everyone can relate to the very human experiences explored in Jane Austen's novels. And that's where I come in. My name is Alison Larkin. I'm a writer, comedian, and narrator and host of the Jane Austen podcast with Alison Larkin. I spent a lot of my childhood in the part of England where Jane Austen lived and wrote, and now that I live in the States, nothing gives me a sense of homecoming quite like narrating her books. On this show, you'll listen to award-winning narration. I'll give myself a pat on the back for that. As well as conversations with actors, writers, and other fascinating people who all share a passionate love for Jane Austen. So please, join me as we embark on a wonderful journey through Jane Austen's work. Be sure to listen and subscribe to the Jane Austen podcast with Alison Larkin, wherever you get your podcasts.